If you are lighter than me, you are colorist. You are my oppressor, and you owe me reparations. If you are thinner than me, you are fatphobic. You are my oppressor, and you owe me reparations. If you have more money, more material resources than me, then you are classist, and you owe me reparations. If you are American, then you are my imperialist. You are my oppressor, and you owe me reparations. If you are from the West, if you are of European descent, then you are racist. You are my oppressor, and you owe me reparations. If you are able-bodied, then you are ableist. You are my oppressor, and you owe me reparations. If you are not interested in pleasing me in all the ways, financially, emotionally, physically, then you have no business being in my life. It's just like, the only question I should be hearing from y'all is how much? How much money do you want? How much money should I be sending you? Actually, I shouldn't even be hearing that. I should just be seeing deposits. It is not delusion, insanity, or narcissism to know your worth. I'm the ultimate, the automatic, I'm sure of it. I am a visionary. I am an inspiration. I am influential. People look at me for inspiration. Follow me for inspiration.
Well, yes, here we are, discussing yet another character on the internet, and today we have the misfortune of discussing Toya, aka soundsfromginen, aka Oracle. I will mostly be referring to him by Oracle because that is what he said he preferred on his recent TikTok, but Oracle is a creator who consistently bullies his audience and attempts to manipulate people into donating to him, to the point where I feel like it ends up being like a shakedown rather than a request for donations. And my god, the rabbit hole I ended up going down after I discovered this creator, because the utter insanity and derangement of Oracle seems to really just have no bounds. Oracle not only plays oppression Olympics to the point that it's absolutely absurd in order to put himself at the top of the pyramid, but he also weaponizes language and terms in order to paint anyone who calls out his very obvious disgusting takes and behavior as a racist or a bigot in some way. And Oracle has made a multitude of videos in which he weaponizes terms and language in order to guilt people into even doing things like being with him because of his own status as a marginalized person. And if you think that was all, oh no, it gets even worse, because Oracle's predatory behavior spreads beyond adults. And he has even made his views on what he calls, quote, child liberation very clear, trying to create a world in which things like children having access to very disgusting, inappropriate content is normalized. And he even has a few accusations of being someone who, let's just say, should not be around children. Oracle goes on to basically slander anybody who speaks out against him or his actions, deeming them as abuse, which, in my opinion, that is so telling. Like, when somebody's coming out and basically saying that you are doing these horrible things and your immediate response is to be disgusting and nasty to them. We have a lot to dive into today, folks, and seemingly so little time, but I do just have a few disclaimers before we dive too deep into the Oracle, aka Toya, aka soundsfromginen lore. First, this is not an anti-woke video. I'm not going to focus on attacking Oracle's physical appearance, and I'd urge you not to as well. I'd argue, if anything, this is probably a woke take, a woke video, because we are going to be absolutely tearing apart the rhetoric that Oracle has used, which I'd argue in itself is extremely harmful to the communities that he claims to care so much about. To not ramble on too long for this intro section, I don't think you would, but I don't want anybody to assume that Oracle's behavior is related to his identity. While I'm absolutely totally fine with y'all tearing his rhetoric apart, please just don't be evil in the comments, y'all. Also, just for legality's sake, I do have to say that everything in this video is alleged based on research that I've personally done. Please don't sue me. I know that Oracle claims not to have resources, but he seems to be doing pretty well. So let's just start off with how I became acquainted to Oracle and how a lot of other people ended up becoming acquainted to Oracle. And that was through these pages that basically repost the insane takes that he posts on a daily basis, because if you go to his actual account, it is basically impossible to find a bad take because there are just simply so many bad takes. Like, it's so hard to pinpoint the worst ones, but these accounts have formed and they are not on his side. So let's just watch one of them in which he basically goes over how he wants everybody to pay for everything for him.
Did I say that I did nothing with my life? Rest isn't nothing. That has actually been one of my goals for a long time, to rest more. So I'm very happy for your sister who, was permanently disabled and decided to fulfill her dreams by going back to school and, working in healthcare. Good for her. We don't have the same dreams. My dream was to rest. My dream was to have people paying for me to rest. And yeah, I've met those goals. I have been able to raise thousands of dollars for myself over the years to rest, to stay housed, to feed myself. I actually was able to fulfill my dream of becoming a musician, and I dropped 2 albums. I was able to fulfill my dream of pursuing art and painting and drawing, and I learned, tattooing. I learned so many things about myself. Just because my idea of success is different from yours doesn't mean that it's not success.
Well, wouldn't we all love that? I mean, I would. I'd absolutely love to just sit here and be pretty and paid based on people forking their money to me. But I just find it absolutely hilarious that Oracle tries to paint other people as so privileged, that Oracle really tries to play oppression Olympics with other people, while at the same time he's really able to just coast off of other people's money. He seems to be doing perfectly well, perfectly fine, living off of the money of other people, living off of donations, which is something that so many people, not to be, the arbiter of who deserves it, but I think there are a lot of other people around the world who work harder than Oracle, who have been through a lot more, in my opinion, than Oracle, who probably deserve, this level of donations, who might not have access to things like phones, who might not have access to things like the internet. It is such a privilege in itself to be able to go on the internet, to be able to spread your message, to be able to get people to support you, if that makes sense. And even as an online creator, I'm super grateful to all the people who decide to watch, to all the people who decide to tune in. So as we're going to see Oracle's attitude, which is really nasty, which is really negative towards people online who are literally helping him survive, who are literally forking over their own money. But I think it's really telling that in the comment section, people are discussing how, they are disabled or they are suffering from extreme ailments and they still have to work. And just to give a little bit of an explanation as to why Oracle claims that he's not working anymore. So Oracle before COVID was a teacher, and Oracle would make a series of TikToks giving different reasons as to why he quit. One being that the school wasn't stringent enough on its COVID policies. 2 being that he had to fight parents over political beliefs, which there are a lot of teachers who have, I think, progressive beliefs, the same ones that, Oracle pretends to have, in my opinion. And they, people have to work. So I don't know if it's not clocking to Oracle that, 90% of people are clocking in. In this perfect world, I'd love it if people who were disabled did not have to work for a living, but unfortunately most of them do. So Oracle's sitting here and acting like he is the arbiter of what is the most oppressed people or what the most oppressed people are facing is kind of ridiculous given the fact that he is coasting off of wealth from people on the internet, which that's the main point I wanted to get from this video. And also the fact that so many people have to work under managers that are homophobic, under people who are directly antagonistic to their identities. They don't have the privilege of having an audience of people who are willing to fork over handfuls of money to them. They don't have the privilege of being able to not work because they're disabled, especially as people's benefits are being cut. So I find it really crazy that Oracle is sitting around here acting like they're the most marginalized person on earth while simultaneously coasting and basically boasting about the thousands of dollars that he's made online. And if, like most of us, you also have to work, given that literally 90% of y'all are in America, that probably means driving. And unfortunately, driving is not the safest activity, which is why it's so important to know who to call if you're injured in a car accident. And that's actually a perfect segue into today's sponsor, Morgan & Morgan. With the amount of insane and distracted drivers on the roads, it's incredibly likely that you'll find yourself injured in a car accident. I've personally seen the incredible toll that car accident injuries can take on people. A very close family member would find herself hurt following the actions of a negligent car rental company, which failed to maintain their brakes, leading her to barrel into an oncoming truck. Thankfully, they ended up being okay, but not only did they have to deal with the direct impact of their injuries, they also had to deal with hours of appointments with lawyers, drawn out courthouse updates, and the costs of litigation. And that's why the injury firm you choose to represent you in these cases is so important. There's a reason why Amelia Perez did not win Best Picture, just like there's a reason why Morgan & Morgan is America's largest personal injury law firm that has over 1,000 attorneys in all 50 states that fight for justice. Morgan & Morgan has gotten over $25 billion for their clients over the years, and that's because they aren't afraid of fighting and taking the insurance companies head on. And this is clearly shown in the results for clients. After an insurance offer of only $3 $350,000. A client in Florida got paid over $12 million. Another client got over 40 times the insurance company's $650,000 offer, getting over $26 million. And even when it feels hopeless, Morgan & Morgan pulls through, getting a client in Florida $20 million when the final offer was literally nothing. That's because when you hire Morgan & Morgan, it's like hiring a legal army that has your back. Not all law firms are made equal, so if you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless they win, and you can start your claim now by clicking the link in the bio down below or scanning the QR code that you can see on screen with your phone's camera. Thank you so much to Morgan & Morgan for supporting the channel. Now, Oracle would probably sit back and, tell me, well, I have links in my bio to fundraisers, and I would simply reply to the fact that the 2 fundraisers that Oracle links to are quite literally buried under 3 links that all try to get you to donate to him. And if you think it couldn't get worse, all of these links, these first 3, Venmo, support Oracle on Coffee, get more from Oracle on Patreon, and the 2 fundraisers that Oracle links, these are all in the same category. Now let's just continue down this rabbit hole of tomfoolery and absolute insanity as we continue to dig into Oracle and his origin. So here's another piece of content that Oracle would post, just an example.
You think you are better than me, but you're not. No, you aren't. You were groomed to abuse me all your life. Yes, you were. You know nothing about community care. No, you don't. You know nothing about keeping people safe. No, you don't. If you took the time to shut your mouth just for once and listen to someone further marginalized, maybe you could be a better person if you really try. But you still need to let go of that supremacist mindset. Yes, you do.
There's just a lot to unpack here. I'm sorry. I listened to Oracle. I quieted, my supremacist mindset as someone who is skinny. I'm sorry. As someone who's then I piped down. I was quiet. I toned down my supremacist mindset according to Oracle, and as someone who is brown skin. Okay, so there's a lot of categories here. Let's just go down the line. White people, light-skinned people, brown-skinned people, non-black POC, thin people, able-bodied people, cis people, heterosexual people, religious fundamentalists, wealthy people, and Westerners. Now, this is quite the mix of identities, and I think a lot of these have also, it kind of starts tame. You're like, okay, white people, I could see that maybe, white people might need to listen to a more marginal, and then it's like light-skinned people, okay, maybe they don't have the same experiences as a brown skin people as well. Okay, non-black POC. Oh wow, we're even getting into people like South Asian people who experience a great deal of racism as well, a great deal of discrimination as well, based off their skin tone as well. And then we go to thin people, because all thin people are supremacist, apparently. Okay, able-bodied people as well, cis people, heterosexual people, wealthy people, and Westerners. And I know Genjin or Oracle has Haitian ancestry, but still he is currently living in America as far as I'm aware, and has lived in America his whole life, and has wealthy parents. So wouldn't he also fall under this, or does that not count, because that wouldn't mean he's the most marginalized person on earth? Like, because I just want to harp on the skinny point. Because I'm skinny, I hate you. Because I'm skinny, I'm oppressing you. I feel like most people don't choose to be the way they are. Most people don't choose the bodies that they live in, like as it pertains to things like physical appearance. And then the skinny label also makes no distinction between people who are skinny because they intend on being skinny, because they participate in diet culture, that type of thing, or people who are not skinny, like who are skinny not by choice. People who are starving, people who are struggling, there's no differentiator between them. And I find this really funny as someone who claims to care so much about activism, claims to care so much about people, and claims to know so much, that he didn't think to make this distinction, which I think is important. And even if you're like, okay, that's, taking that a step too far. Maybe he didn't mean, skinny people in that sense, people who are starving. Okay, let's continue to break down some of the other points. Brown skin people, and I'm assuming that he's talking about, people in the Black community. And obviously there is, a great deal of things like colorism that exists within the community. That is something that's important. That is something that should be brought up. People who are seen as lighter often get more attention, but at the same time, to totally dismiss the struggle of brown skin people and say that they are basically built up to abuse you, built up to be supremacist, I think is really insane. Especially given the context that, me as a brown skinned person, I have like light skinned people in my family, and no matter how we look, we all are descendants of slaves. Our ancestors have all been through that oppression. Our ancestors have all been through like things like Jim Crow. And there's obviously differences, right? Where people might, perceive you as white. But at the end of the day, to totally dismiss the struggles of so many people, so many groups, especially like during this time, non-black POC. Let me make sure that's right, because that's kind of insane. Yep, non-black POC. Middle Easterners, people from Gaza. Oh, I'm sorry. You're not a black POC, so I'm sorry, you're the oppressor. You're actually supremacist. Like, this is like Twitter brain, Tumblr brain. Like, I don't know. Like, is this a CIA plant to make people who are leftists look ridiculous? Like, is this rage bait, or is this like some sort of secret government operation to make people who have leftist tendencies look stupid? Because this is utterly insane. And I truly don't think that Oracle's an activist for anyone but himself. At the end of the day, he conveniently will ignore his own privileges, his own, status that is elevated. We're nitpicking aspects that Oracle thinks that he doesn't adhere to in order to make himself be the most marginalized person. And we'll come back to this because apparently Oracle thinks that being the most marginalized is an extremely important aspect of activism, for the reason that he thinks that people want to follow the most marginalized. Therefore, if he's the most marginalized in every situation, he will have the biggest following. He will have people who are going to ride for him and listen to whatever he has to say. And this gets into harmful territory very quickly. This next TikTok is just another example of Oracle, again, making himself out to be the most marginalized person on earth in order to milk money from his followers, in order to milk money from people on the internet.
It's just like the only question I should be hearing from y'all is how much? How much money do you want? How much money should I be sending you? Actually, I shouldn't even be hearing that. I should just be seeing deposits. I should just be seeing deposits in my Venmo, my Patreon, and my Ko-fi.
Someone says, how much money should we be sending you? You come from wealth, a doctor mom, and United Nations official dad. So yeah, this is an additional factor in this entire situation. Oracle is sitting here and acting like he's the most oppressed person in the world, while simultaneously literally stemming from a very successful, very wealthy family, which, that is, I'm not honestly shocked, because I don't think it's a coincidence that Oracle seems to pretend to be the most disadvantaged person, to pretend to be the most marginalized person in order to get more sympathy, in a way, in order to get more attention. And just the sheer level of entitlement in this TikTok gagged me. Like the gall to sit here, it's not even begging, it's literally just extortion. He's acting like we borrowed money from him and just have to give it back now. And if you thought it was just like, oh, maybe he's talking to white people or whatever, which still is weird in my opinion, like to just come up to people and just act like, you know what I mean? Like on the internet, random people, mind you, still weird, right? No, like, given that list of people, me being a thin person somehow makes me an oppressor of Oracle, which I find absolutely ridiculous. Like, no, people don't have to donate to you, especially when the only thing you're seemingly doing is getting on the internet and talking about how you're the most oppressed person on the planet. And this is not to mock people who legitimately are coming online and requesting funds, because there are so many people online who are doing either TikTok shop or who are, starting their own GoFundMe, or who are full-time activists and are reliant on the donations of others. But those people are actually doing something. Those people are actually very kind, actually very, respectful. They'll ask and request for money. And it's actually like, it's not like demanding. It's not like there's a difference between thinking that you are entitled to the money of others and, humbly coming upon others and asking. And I'm not even saying that you have to be humble, if that makes sense, because some people legitimately need money urgently. And I have no problem with that, right? But I have a problem with this for the mere fact that not only is Oracle playing Oppression Olympics to get this money, but Oracle is shaming people and bullying people and trying to promote this culture and this idea that, oh yeah, because I'm a marginalized person, you don't question me. That is so dangerous and so reckless and so like unhinged. And the fact that more people haven't been talking about the situation is kind of gagging me because this is kind of like a niche thing. And of course, it's getting more attention like now, but still, it's so important to call out this mindset that, oh, because I'm marginalized, I can just do whatever I want. No, can you be a good person, maybe? Can you not actually try to dumb down these concepts to, oh, I'm marginalized, I deserve your money instantly? Like, what? And if you thought it was overzealous in my take that Oracle wants to be the most oppressed person on the internet, Oracle quite literally says it in this TikTok, and it is very, like, this TikTok is giving very much delusional. This TikTok is giving very much out of this world with delusion.
It is not delusion, insanity, or narcissism to know your worth, especially as a multi-marginalized person. People have quite literally vilified me for having good self-esteem.
Well, no. People have vilified you for your constant attempts to play Oppression Olympics and for your constant attempts to use your status as a marginalized person in order to do horrific things. And, like, like, it's not self-esteem. And this is the way that Oracle will try to twist and meld a situation into him always being the good guy, which is so horrific. But let's keep watching because it does get worse. Sorry, I just had to interject there.
My abusers abuse me because they hate themselves and they hate that I don't hate myself. I am quite literally the blueprint. All the time in leftist spaces, people are talking about following the leadership of the most marginalized, and I'm it. I'm it. I'm the ultimate, the automatic.
And this is what I mean by Oracle thinking that being the most marginalized means that you are the leader. I hate to be that person, but I think being the leader means being the most qualified for the position. And I'm pretty sure most people agree with me, regardless of what race you are, regardless of what identity or marginalization level you're at. It's important that we don't diminish, initiatives for diversity, initiatives for inclusion to this dumbed down mindset where it's like, okay, because I check all these boxes, I'm automatically, the ultimate, I'm the leader. Like, this mindset is so stupid.
I'm sure of it. I am a visionary. I am an inspiration. I am influential. People look at me for inspiration, follow me for inspiration. Some people hate it, literally hate me and then copy me. My relatives humiliated me for going natural at 16 years old. I chose to cut off all my hair and go natural. And then years later, every single woman in my household who had a relaxer cut her hair off to go natural as well. My relatives humiliated me for crowdfunding for survival. And then throughout the pandemic, these past few years, all I've seen are their GoFundMes. My sister created a GoFundMe for foot surgery. My mom created a GoFundMe to support an orphanage in Haiti. My stepfather created a GoFundMe to support Army veterans. Former friends of mine started crowdfunding for survival as well. But it was desperate and needy when I did it.
I don't want to diminish, the possible fact that Toya could have faced trauma, could have faced this type of, exclusion, but at the same time, utilizing it in a way to humiliate others while lifting yourself up is like, you're not uplifting a community, you're actually excluding a community. One of the things that I think is, extremely important about leftist spaces, about people who want to create community and people who want to, actually make a difference, is that they are trying to unify a massive group of people while making sure that all of the issues are addressed. And Toya isn't addressing any issues. And Toya is also directly excluding people. Like, he's trying to make a pool of people who will be willing to donate to him while excluding himself from it. This is also just very scary behavior. This feels like a case of someone who's coming into these spaces and attempting to head them and attempting to manipulate and bully others into falling in line with him. Because when you think about it, the second that anyone questions him, and this is something that we'll, discuss later as well, but the second that anyone questions him, the second that anyone, pushes back on his wishes as, the oracle, the all-seeing oracle, his response seems to be either calling them racist or saying that they're prejudiced or also just calling them an abuse. He will call people who have come out against him and, openly discussed the disgusting things that he's done on the internet as abusers, which is a really gross misuse of language. But like, oh my god, imagine a white person telling him no. Oh wait, we actually don't have to imagine that because it actually happened and it shows the disgusting level of harm in Ginjin's rhetoric and just how deeply disturbing he can be.
I'm not a woman, but this is still an important conversation because I was assigned female at birth. And this is such an important conversation to have, and it actually reminded me of an experience I had a few years ago that made me feel really icky, and now I understand why. This person did not respect my yes. So I had a friend over, and, we were hanging out, eating food. We had taken some shrooms, having a good time. And I'm feeling good, I'm feeling light, I'm feeling pleasure in my body. And I asked them if they were interested in engaging in a act with me. And to this, they responded, it was like some chess play for the algorithm. And they asked me in return, what do you think? And I was just stunned because I have never, ever heard somebody ask a question to my question before, especially when my question is a yes or no question. And I remember just like saying no, like confused. And they said, right answer. And that moment made me feel really icky. But because I didn't get any kind of explanation from them, I kind of just like, put it off as maybe it was just the right time, the vibes weren't right, whatever the case may be. But a couple months later, I asked this person if they would like to engage in a with me. And I was abruptly ghosted. And I ended up confronting.
Maybe because the person basically said no the first time, and then you pressed them and tried to make them do the same thing again after they already kind of, expressed at least some level of discomfort in your questioning.
Them a few months after that, and I'm just like, what is going on? Like, why did you ghost me when I asked you this question? And then they accused me of objectifying them. But now, after many, many years of processing, I realized that this person was uncomfortable with my direct communication around because of their inability to be direct about their needs and wants and their own no. They were uncomfortable with my yes.
Like, seeing in real time the distortions and just the manipulation of the truth, which is likely that this person did not want to do anything with Genjin or Oracle, that this person did not want to have those interactions. And Oracle pushing it to, oh no, it can't be me. It has to be this person's wrongdoing. They weren't comfortable with my yes. Maybe they were comfortable with their own no. And maybe you're trying to extrapolate these terms and apply it to situations where it doesn't apply and basically make yourself look like the good person in every situation when you're really engaging in disgusting things. I think it's pretty disgusting that someone basically said no to you and you continued to push and push and push. That's a really bad sign. That's something that's really disgusting.
They were uncomfortable with me stating directly what I needed and wanted. And instead of acknowledging their own lack, they projected onto me and they accused me of objectifying them and they judged me for having. And to get even more complex, I'm a dark-skinned fat Black person, which means that I'm often mammified. And that means that people often see me as like a workhorse, but also lacking in sexual desire. People don't respect my no when I refuse to do labor for them, but they simultaneously don't respect my yes when I want to experience pleasure.
That last part as well is just really, I don't know, it's disgusting to see things like racism that are very real be twisted and morphed into, oh, I should be able to do anything with whoever I want because I'm dark-skinned and I'm marginalized. And it's like, no, consent still exists. And this is a lot to unpack because one, I definitely don't want to be the first person to have to tell you this, but you can say no at any time. It doesn't matter if the other person said yes. It doesn't matter if you know that they paid for dinner or something. If you ever feel uncomfortable or afraid in a situation, you can feel free to leave. And I'm not blaming any victims, but I'm just, letting people know in general that you can leave at any time. And as someone who has experienced SA in real life, I'm sorry, I know it's ridiculous that I have to self-censor my own experience, but you too. But as someone who's gone through it, it's just so utterly terrifying and disgusting to hear someone morph and meld, rhetoric and social justice oriented terms in order to wrap it in this pseudo-intellectual take in rhetoric. Like, the mammification of Black women is a very real phenomenon, right? But the mammification does not apply when you're trying to violate someone's consent and basically force them into doing acts with you or else they're erased. Like, that is not right at all. And we absolutely have to stamp this type of rhetoric out before people even start to think that it's true, because it's not. I've never seen people act like this in real life. I've never seen people do stuff like that. And I've been friends with plenty of people who are leftists, plenty of people who are on the left of the political spectrum. You know what I mean? Like, in real life, this type of day-to-day interaction is just so, like, this is just so hyper online and rage baited to the point where I don't know if this is rage bait or not. Truly, the way that Oracle seems to be so engaged online, I'm inclined to believe that this is not rage bait. I'm inclined to believe that Oracle thinks that he lives in this world where he is the most marginalized person on Earth, and therefore he is allowed to do whatever he wants. It is a level of delusion, and it is really scary, in my opinion, that, he's able to manipulate words and coerce people into doing things with him. Like, that is scary. It is really disgusting to try to hold your status as a marginalized person over other people in order to get romantic or sexual favors out of them. It's so twisted, because there is a truth to things like marginalization. Racism exists. Marginalized people do face discrimination, even when it comes to romantic partners, right? So yes, there are some people who are racist who don't want to associate with people, but at the same time, to sit here and try to dumb that down to, oh, they didn't want to do anything with me, that means they're racist, is so ridiculous and so wrong. But before we get to the deepest, darkest pit of Oracle's comments about kids, which are really going to get on my nerves and are really just, that's not a fun time at all. None of this has been, but it just really gets disturbing. Let's just watch, one last TikTok before then to kind of prep us.
I don't have to imagine what genocide is because I'm experiencing it. People have asked me, why should we send you money? You're not experiencing genocide. What happens when a person is continuously...
So you having, a platform online, being able to gather enough funds to survive off the internet and crowdfund your life is somehow genocide, when there's actively, genocides going on around the world, when people actively are being denied access to food, when their homes are being destroyed, when their homelands are being destroyed, and you're sitting here on your couch pretending that you are going through the same exact thing. That actually boils my blood. I'm not even gonna lie, that actually pissed me off. Because what are we talking about here?
being displaced, and every time they're displaced, their conditions get worse and worse and worse. What happens when every time a person is displaced and moved to a new location, somebody in that location is threatening to kill them, and so that they have to leave, and then go to another place where somebody else is threatening to kill them, and then they go to another place and somebody else... That has literally been my entire life. Moving constantly, escaping abuse constantly, fleeing genocide constantly, fleeing people making attempts on my life, whether overtly or covertly, constantly. Like, there is a reason why I no longer had money to live where I lived, and now I live in a different place, and people are still trying to starve me. It's because I'm experiencing genocide. And I don't have to imagine who's causing the genocide. It's you. It's people like you who watch me from the screen, who judge me, who hypercriticize me, who harass me. It's people who have turned me away from community resources because they've believed the white imagination of others that I am a monster, that I am a beast, that I am a criminal.
I can't even anymore. It's ridiculous. This is the most ridiculous thing that I've heard in my life. No, you're not experiencing a genocide, actually. No, you're actually able to, eat, you're able to sleep. There are thousands of people around the world, millions of people around the world who aren't able to do that right now. Whether it be in the Congo, whether it be in Gaza. So you sitting here and acting like people criticizing you online is equivalent to that is actually disrespectful as hell. Oh, God. I'm already riled up and we haven't even got to the takes on children content, which I can't. I literally can't. So now we're just going to get into Oracle's takes on children, and we just have to watch this together because it's absolutely awful.
What we should be doing is be proactive and encouraging porn content creators to make their porn content more accessible to young people who will be accessing that shit anyway. Like,
no, I actually don't think we should. No, I actually don't think young people should be having access to that type of content.
the story. When I was around 8 years old and my sister was around 7, we were being babysat by our great grandmother. She had a guest over. They were in the living room talking, watching shows, while my sister and I were plotting in her bedroom. We ran out of her bedroom, we pulled down our pants, and we mooned our great grandmother and her guest, and we ran away laughing. That is an example of childhood.
Like, what can I say? Literally, what can I say at this point? Because, so not only is Oracle experiencing a genocide, not only is Oracle the most marginalized person on Earth, but Oracle is also advocating for basically, oh, let's make content for children, are you actually okay? Is there something here that's not clocking? Is it not clocking to you? Because what are we even debating here? Okay, Oracle. I did also kind of want to end this off by explaining further how Toya treats his critics. So here's what he had to say about somebody who didn't post his music.
I have another individual that I need to call out for excluding me from community resources. Anusha, they are a Black disabled artist, a cisgender woman. I submitted my music to the Passion Project, which they run, in order to share my music on radio and so that people can support my craft. And I just received this email that due to the smear campaigns that have been run about me, they will not be putting my music on the Passion Project radio. So this is another person that I suggest people divest from, because it's very clear that this person is invested in perpetuating anti-Black ableism, transphobia.
You're accusing a Black person who, mind you, is disabled, right, of perpetuating anti-Black ableism and white supremacy because they didn't want to platform your... I'm gonna be honest, I listened to one song from Genjin or Oracle, and it was okay. I mean, it was fine. The other ones, however, I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of trash. I'm not even trying to be a hater. It was not good.
White supremacy. Am I surprised? No, because this person is in community with a bunch of people that have harmed and abused and have spread this smear campaign, but I am disappointed.
And, you know, with that, I am putting a bow over the Toya Oracle Genjin drama, and I'm just moving on with my life because Oracle is ultimately doing more harm than good for the communities that they claim to care about. You know, if we were actually serious about a movement that was aimed at, you know, liberating and uplifting Black people, uplifting people with disabilities, you would focus on building a coalition of people with a variety of different experiences, actually educating them, not just sitting here and trying to be the leader of the movement because you are the most marginalized, not sitting here and trying to play oppression Olympics. When I see a white person, I don't instantly think, oh my God, you should give me money. You are born to abuse me. Like, that is ridiculous. I really think that Oracle should seriously reconsider what he's doing if he's actually serious about, you know, what he claims to care about, which is, you know, uplifting people with disabilities, uplifting Black trans people. If he's actually serious about doing that thing, he needs to seriously reconsider what he's been putting out there. He needs to seriously reconsider this idea of the most marginalized being the one who leads the movement. And he also needs to seriously reconsider his privilege, because he's been very privileged to enjoy living off the money of other people, living off of the labor of others. And it's not just in the sense of like, oh, you know, somebody's caring for him. No, he's literally getting money from people who most likely work jobs. Some of those people might be in those same groups that, you know, he claims to care so much about. And I also think that the people who are donating to Oracle should seriously consider putting their funds elsewhere, especially given the fact that people are coming out against Oracle. I'm just going to have to reference this video because the video has become entirely too long already, but their is Black Girls Are God on TikTok, and they have a over 10-minute, I think there's 2 10-minute testimonies about how Oracle, aka Toya, is a PDF file and a creep, and, you know, abused them. So I really recommend that you check that creator's page out. I also call for, you know, TikTok to ban him. Like, these type of takes, especially the ones about children, this is not rhetoric that should be allowed on a platform that's serious about protecting children. I really think it's important that people call this out before it hits a certain side of the internet, because we will never hear the end of it. Because this is like the most unhinged. Like, this is literally what, you know, people think woke culture or whatever is. This is that. And it's gotten to the point where I'm like, is this rage bait or is this like a plan? Because this is ridiculous. But I also do want to make sure that I emphasize that, you know, racism is real. Marginalization is very much real. But we have to actually, you know, go into detail with these things. We can't be lazy and sloppy like Oracle is about these things. No, being the most oppressed person in the room, no, having the most, you know, marginalized characteristics does not make you a leader instantly. Does not make you the most knowledgeable person in the room. Certainly, it is important to consider the experiences of people who are in those groups, but it doesn't give you a right to people's money. It doesn't give you a right to shame and harass others. It doesn't give you a right to bully people into doing things for you. It doesn't give you a right to move around with impunity and never face any consequences for your own actions. And that is behavior that should be called out immediately. To sit here and totally erase the experiences of others while claiming that your experience is the most important is not the way that things should be done. But that's honestly all for me. I'm tired. I'm tired. Um, I will see you all next time. Thank you so much if you made it to the end of this video, because I know this was probably a lot. I will see you all next time, hopefully with something a little bit more bright and cheery, but you know, maybe it'll be a response video to Oracle, because I know he's literally going to probably say something about this. Given the fact that he like blocks people from the comments of these pages about him. Like he is that obsessed with this. Regardless, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye everybody. Oh.